wear many different hats. So the hat I'm going to wear today is as the treasurer of Levenshulme Old Library. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about its journey and where it's got to. So obviously, as a building, it was built in 1904. That's what it looked like then. And here we are. This was a year or so ago. This is what it looks like now. So we've lost that nice little thing off the top. But basically, it's still there, serving its community for 115 years now or something like that. Next slide. And I thought this was really good. So it was funded by Andrew Carnegie, who's a very rich bloke, who had an admission to give away as much money as possible. And he said there's no such a cradle of democracy upon the earth as the free public library, this republic of letters where neither rank, office nor wealth receives the slightest consideration. And I think that was a really nice basis. He uses phrases like storehouses of knowledge. He basically felt if people can educate themselves, they can make a better life. And that was the sort of founding principle for all of his philanthropy. He built many, many libraries. And I think we try and hold on to that ethic of that this is about enabling people to do stuff. Next slide. So I suppose it sort of started back in about 2013, although there'd been some threats before where the council said they were going to close the public library, the free public library in Levenshulme that had been there for a long time. And there was this sudden, I wasn't actually living in Levenshulme then, but there was this sudden upswelling of energy to try and save it, and also the swimming baths which were opposite. And I'm not going to go into a long story, but it was called Viva the Levolution. And some people feel that it was quite a tipping point in the whole of Levenshulme in a sense, kind of getting an idea of its identity and that it could work together. So that campaign happened in 2013. Lots of people got involved. We had lots of fun, we had sit-ins, we had people taking the piss out of Richard Lees. We had all sorts of stuff going on. Next slide. But this is the building from the top, and you can see it's a very constrained site. We don't have much land around it. It needs land for the public library. We've got a really old boiler, which says things on it like, please do not move the dial above 4 on the heating, because everything will break down. You know, so we got a boiler that's 25 years old. And when we started to explore, we realized that they had this thing, which was dry rot in the ceiling. And basically the lack of maintenance in this roof had left this legacy. So the library service was still running it, but they didn't want to spend any money on the building. And we had to have it all stripped out, and there was lots of problems. So there's a fabric problem, and the main thing is the council stepped up, they fixed the roof, they never tell us how much, but there was a period where the library basically closed because the council pulled out, they were building a new library, and there was this empty shell. So we did a number of things. This is actually our caretaker and our first arts producer. We went and visited other buildings. So that one's in Liverpool, and we kind of tried to learn about that. That was an absolute shell. It was totally derelict. It had £2.5 million spent on recovering it. But we tried to connect into that network and that idea of community buildings around the place, and try and focus on some of our heritage assets. So these are some of the tiles there, and sort of, so we're balancing keeping the heritage of this building, but trying to reimagine it for the future, whilst trying to think, do we want to take over ownership for something that's a bit knackered? But in 2018, we managed to reopen the front door and welcome the public in under the new charitable incorporated organisation. Next slide. So that was the library. Lots of books, computers, nice area. All the shelves were left there. You know, it was basically just about, they walked out, closed the building. 2 years later, we walked back in again, and it was basically, you know, lots of shelves and no books on. So we got a big open space, which is quite hard to use. And then we've also got some smaller areas, and one of them was taken over by All FM Radio. So we've got a community radio station, which runs as like an autonomous project. They kind of pay rent, but they're also a great asset in themselves. So we're trying to be this sort of vehicle for other things. So basically, we just tried to get down. So this was an early volunteer weekend, trying to clear the grounds which were overgrown. And we're trying to maximise the outside space as well. And if we could, we'd steal loads of land off the next door primary school, because we've got no parking and we could expand. So we're trying to wrestle with the history. Next slide. But I think we've done pretty well. So we've put money in the bank. that happened, but we've got like £50,000 stored in the bank account. Some of it came from COVID recovery loans, and you know, we've agreed to that. We've had quite a lot of grants over the years, but financially we're kind of doing okay. We don't tell anybody, but the council's still paying the heating bill. And if it wasn't, we'd probably close because we just couldn't sustain it. And we're not quite sure if the council knows it is or not.
I'd love to chat about that because that happens a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I know.
And so maybe we'll suddenly get a £60,000 heating bill and we'll be wiped out if we go.
That's the bit I'm worried about.
Or maybe they will just say, okay, we'll forget it because it's more right for us. But anyway, we're managing to keep financially stable, so income and outcome. We're getting new projects in all the time. And more importantly, we're bringing people into the building and making it used, because if it was left, it would just fall apart. Buildings deteriorate if they're not used. The next one. So yeah, I think it's flourishing now. We've got ideas. We've got you know, art groups going on. We've made some positive changes to the inside of the building. We've cleared some area here, and we're going to have a tool library project. So the library of things, they're going to try and put a container there and hire out stuff like that. So that's an autonomous project. We had loads of debates about whether we want a horrible, you know, container outside of our beautiful Victoria. I'm joking, but you know, lots of people own it in different ways. Well, FM still flourishing, so that's one. They keep winning awards for community radio stations. They broadcast in 15, 20 different languages, so that's a really great asset in itself. We've got some funding through crowdfunding to put in a sort of pergola thing up so we can use the outside spaces a bit more. And we're trying to do all sorts of things and reach out to different aspects of people. We've got a road support group, lots of social enterprises setting up. We've got XR in there. We're just trying to be a vehicle for other people to take action. It's not always easy. Keeping people involved. We have internal debates about whether we are just owning this building or whether the community owns it. Should it be arts and culture? What does that mean? And it's hard work. And it's hard work motivating people because it's a complex journey over many years. And frankly, I think we've done loads, but not very much. But it's not always very easy. So I'm just about finished off now. Next slide. So I just wanted to put the two ones up. This is my social enterprise thing. We talked about motivation and journey. No one person could make this happen. And there's a whole sort of tensions around leadership and who owns this and what's the passion that drives it forward. And I always like this idea of the sort of stable three-legged stool, is that there's we need people to manage this and lay down the law and stop it getting chaotic. And we need some people to promote it and sell it and say, look, come in, open our doors. You know, we still look like an old library. We don't have any sign that says, you know, welcome. We've never been able to create an open access space. We don't have somebody in the building all the time, and we can't just walk in, and you have to book in through a group. And then we have to have people who do things, whether that's volunteers or staff. We have loads of tensions about whether we pay staff to run it or whether we should be running it as volunteers. And then I like this one, and this links back to the social economy stuff. There's this idea of an iceberg, that there's the things that people see happening, but there's loads of stuff under the surface that needs to happen to keep the top bit visible, and that's a real tension. So not one person is a good manager, seller and doer, not many. So find a way of diversifying, bringing new skills in, and try and celebrate all the stuff that keeps it afloat.
Great tips, thank you. So, apologies to whoever's got to follow. It's always a daunting task, isn't it? But thank you, Jez. You've given us a good all-rounder there.
Oh, yeah, that's what community has.
Yeah. Come on down if you can switch through. We're just going to roll in, and then we'll invite people to the panel and start asking a few more questions and invite them as well.
My slideshow is about community-led housing because that's my job at the moment. Is working for the Great Manchester Community-led Homes Hub. We just call it the hub. It's a lot easier. But something that Nicola said when she introduced herself was about working in the sector for a long time, and I was thinking I fell into this sector straight out of university, which would have been 1994. It's a long time ago, and I've always worked in the third sector. I quite like the term the third sector. We don't use it much anymore, but So for me, that's the only way that I see that works, that people work and makes people happy and sorts things out. And I've done lots of jobs. I've set up, I've been a consultant for lots of years in the good years, and there was lots of money about. I've but for the lottery with groups, I've set up a magical travel emporium, I've done a community garden centre, and now I'm working for this umbrella organisation, which I quite like, because what it helps us to do is work together. So I was thinking about the theme and about the network that Tom and Michaela and also the working group are creating, and the importance of coming together to learn from others, really. So I started looking, so community-led housing, for people who don't know it, it's basically people coming together to create housing. That's all you need to know. A lot of people don't know about it. They think you can buy a house on the market, you could rent a house privately, you could go on the social landlord waiting list, but actually you can get together with a group of other people and create some. They've all got timings on these, haven't they? I didn't put those on.
No. Nor did I.
They really confuse me. So we'll whip through anyway.
Okay.
But it does whip really fast. I'll find out. So we've got we work across Greater Manchester. We've got 24 active groups at the moment trying to build houses. About 400 potential homes, which would be in community hands. I'm part of a community self-build. This is my house. It's got a roof now, and these are my cups of tea. So yeah,
I do feel compelled to take because I remember doing a development, and yeah, we had tea outside in the frame, and I've got like a cardboard box. Should I do
you see, because having tea makes the world go round, doesn't it? This is a new scheme in Oldham we're working on. Actually, someone's there from Oldham, so this is a very new one. So anyway, the next slide sort of talks about what's happening in Manchester. So to get back to Manchester, because that's what it's about. I started looking at what was going on in Manchester. Go, Tom. So we've got, I think that says 12 projects. Commoners at the top, which was your project ages ago, and you sort of not
on the land.
Yeah, still there. So there's 12 groups of people that we know about in Manchester, all trying to create their own housing in all these different ways. You don't need to know what all of these different things are, but then, you know, look at all the different, some of them working to prevent homelessness, some looking to house asylum seekers, students, older people, creatives. I'm entirely sure who counts as a creative. Some are existing ones, like this is the new Longside Housing Co. They've already got 85 homes. They want to make some more. Some people have got land from different churches. It's very religious, I thought, when I pulled it together. Baptist Church, Methodist Church, and the C of E all giving land. So I was thinking about the fact that all of these people in all of these groups feel like sometimes they're the only people trying to do this and trying to make this happen. So the next slide talks about, can we make the journey smooth by working together? Those are some joyous people. That's the room.
We'll get that photo later.
So yeah, just really, I was thinking about the times over the last 300 years that I've been working, when I've just felt like it was just me and just my group trying to do something, and then how I really started going to networking events and working with groups. So maybe that's geographical, you know, I'm right through working in Hume. We're looking at what's happening in Hume, and then I did a lot with locality network when I ran the garden centre, because what I found really good was going to look at really big organisations that were like 20 years down the line. Look at what they're doing. They started here, but they've got there. And I think that also gave me the confidence as a manager to run a community share issue and look at loan finance, because I think coming from a sort of charity background, we're really scared of loan finance, and people sort of used to grants and stuff like that. And for me, there was a big mind change of like, okay, we have to take some risk and take some investment to make this happen. And now I'm working on community-led housing, which is a massive budget. So, you know, you're talking about people borrowing £6 million and things. And that, you know, that's a big mind change for me, but I'm hopefully able to tell people that it's okay, because I say, look at these other people that have done it. So yeah, I think coming together, sharing experience and learning from each other like today, presenting as a collective body, because I think the more, and you talked about this, Tom, the more that we talk about what's happening in Manchester on a larger scale, we become more a voice to be reckoned with. You know, the Preston model gets a lot of coverage in the media, which is just basically Preston saying, this is what we're doing. And we're doing more than that already, but no one's going, oh, look at the Manchester model. So, you know, let's sell it a little bit. Who are the benefits?
And echoing that, I mean, I love my colleagues in Salford, and there might be people myself in the room, but Salford are a social enterprise place, and I've been doing all sorts, and I've supported all of that. But Manchester's doing it as much, if not more, and nobody knows.
We're not selling it, are we? And then that's about pooling the benefits. So again, if we say, oh, we've got however many, you know, social enterprises, and look at our audience, so the audience suddenly becomes really massive, people who are benefiting from that. That's what I said about the combined voice to promote it, and exploring partnerships, because those things like access to finance, and this is like particularly pertinent to housing, but those are big steps. But if we come together and do it together and look at partnership approach, consortium approaches, then all of a sudden we're sharing that risk and working together. But that's just me saying use your hub. Someone's done there. Well, that is me done. Look at that. So I suppose my other reason for being here today and coming to networking events is to try to promote community-led housing, because we really would like to see more groups looking at it, exploring it. So people who are already running community enterprises already are in a local community. You'll see the housing need. We were talking to you before about, you know, newly arrived asylum seekers, refugees. You know, there's ways to bring that together with community-led housing as well. So let's try and do a bit more of it, really. But never build your own house.
Say that. Great. So there might be people who've got, you know, their juices flowing, I guess, around housing or supporting housing needs in their communities. We hope that's been helpful. And who's up next? Shameen? Come on down.
Okay, thank you first of all, Michaela. Thank you, Matt, for the invitation. So my name is Shameen Jan, and I'm part of Volunteer Active CIC. It's a community interest we set up to support Salvation Women and other baby women, that we have exercise spaces for culturally appropriate and tailored for these women who find it a challenge, yeah, to go outside and exercise in the normal places, yeah, and I'll go into that a little bit more. Okay, next slide, please. So why Volunteer Active? So the reason I believe they call the forgotten women, Salvation Women, there's some women who come here as wives, have children, they don't go out very much, but believe it or not, there are those women who in this community, Salvation community, who've been born and bred here, but they have the similar lifestyle where they don't go out, they don't make friends, and they have a lot of isolation, and due to isolation, they get lots of aches and pains, which the GPs then don't know where to turn because they can't give them painkillers that will solve the problem. Those aches and pains are due to stress normally, and once they get out and about, the aches and pains go. This is, I'm not a GP, but the GPs tell me that. That's why they refer them to us, yeah, and they have been doing for a while. So I call them the forgotten women. So why? Because the GPs, if you just Google GPs and BB syndrome or the Begum syndrome, some GPs actually do that to them. They come and they just think that because they're sat at home all day, they don't need our care. It's quite, you know, and I only found that out in all the reports that were going out for inequality during the pandemic. So they have nowhere to go. And the other thing in our community, Salvation community, is that we have our community society, community friends and neighbors, but it's a very kind of where you don't want to share anything outside because you don't know where it's going to go. So there's no safe spaces as well, you know. And then, of course, bless them, there are mosques, which should be a haven for all the Muslims. But again, it's very selective. A lot of the mosques where I live, especially, they don't really have much to do with women. They'll open the doors to men openly, but women, you stay there. Yeah, so that's why we created Volunteer Active. It's not just a space for exercise, it's a space to build a sisterhood and also support each other to help them thrive in their lives. And why? My motivation, I was one of those women once upon a time. at the age of, oh gosh, a much younger age. Yeah, I was one of these in an abusive marriage. Didn't tell anybody until 16 years, and then my children started to get the abuse from my husband at the time. Then I knew enough was enough. So I raised my voice. All the stuff that happens when you try to get yourself out of an abusive relationship. And but that made me realize that there's many women living in silence as well. So that's why it's a personal motivation for me. It's not just a business. Yeah. So next slide, please. Okay, so the barriers and the challenges. As soon as I set this up, we've done Bollyfit for about 8 years. I set it up for my private clients with the work I was doing at that time. But in 2020, August, we set up a CIC after 3 months of thinking, should I not, should I keep it private? But we wanted to tailor it for all these women, and I knew that we couldn't get access to the women because they won't be able to afford it. So we needed funding so that we could do that. That's why I became a CIC. First, one of the funders said, you've got Herbalife logo on your car, we're not going to give you a fund. That was a big barrier. Yeah, but me being persistent and me having links at Max, because I'd already linked up with some of the GPs and they referred me to Max. So Max was my haven. I used to come here for support, everything at the beginning. And then I thought, it can't be. People probably have other businesses and do. Yeah, so the funder said, no, but if I wasn't so resilient, I wouldn't have gone to Mac and got the support. And Mac told me there's a conflict of interest policy you could create. Why would they say that? So I went back to the funders with that, emailed them. They just gave me the fund after that. They didn't want the conflict of interest. So these are barriers, but these are just a handful, yeah. What's that? Recently, we applied for a fund, big organization. Are we brave enough to say names of organizations here? Are we brave enough? Because until we get brave, we're not going to sort out the inequalities and all that that's going on. So Sport England, GM Moving, Greater Sport, put this fund out, and we applied. And how we apply for fund is for somebody to run the session, somebody to run the WhatsApp group. So they said, oh, it's too much money you're asking for. WhatsApp, what do you need that for? 3 months, emails, coming, going. Keep saying no. I keep saying yes. At the end, I said, I need to speak to the people who sit on the board. I said, I'm not having no, because I'm trying to explain to you, the women that we're working with, these women, they won't just turn up for the fitness. We need to engage them, create a nice atmosphere on the WhatsApp group. Well done to you who came today. We are there tomorrow morning. Come and join us. Until we do that, they're not going to have that kind of lifestyle. Yeah, we've got to support them and coach them and make them feel as though they're part of an organization. We can't just do that in 1 hour that they come. So when I asked, I want to speak to the people who sit on the board who were going to say no, or you're thinking they're going to say no because it's asking for too much money, and all it was £25 per week. On the WhatsApp group. Do you think that's too much? Yeah, it is ridiculous, isn't it? So we pushed, and then as soon as I said that, they connected me with somebody who was the head of Northwest, who I'd known for quite a while. She knows what we're all about. She came in on the scene within 2 weeks, who said the fund is for you. Well, what I'm trying to say is, how many others are there outside who are having these barriers? Yeah. So moving on now, pro bono work. I have and the thing is why I've said equity, not equality, because you can have a fitness session for somebody out there. Equality, yeah, we've all got it. But equity is when we need to tailor it, that person actually has access to it or feels comfortable there. So that, I believe, equity is all what we need to focus on these days. So pro bono, this is what I'm saying is now, my to-do list as a director is massive. But the thing is, I'm not being paid as a director, yeah? So this is another challenge, because you wanted to know the barriers and the challenge. The challenge is now, I either go out and work in my business to make the, make the money so I can pay my bills, or do I work on the business? That's all pro bono kind of work that I'm doing, not paid for, yeah? So this is a challenge at the moment. And I'm sure if you're not fully invested in it, like me, this is my dream, my life vision, you wouldn't do it. So this is another challenge we come, but there's another challenge, and I am going to be a bit brave by naming names. So Jess, so lovely to meet you today, and I'm going to connect with you after this. We went to your organisation over a year ago when the pandemic finished, and I can't believe when you put it up, I'm like, oh, that's that organisation. And I asked if we could do a female-only session, and the answer came back by email is, we don't promote a female-only session, we only promote family events. And I was like, how can that be? You know, you're in an area where you've got South Asian women. You need to tailor your centre for accommodating the people you've got around. Okay, I love family events, but what about the women who are struggling? And then I said to them, take it to your bosses and stuff. And she came back again saying no. So we never got to work in energy.
Well, let's have a chat.
No, and I know it doesn't get to the right people. These people who just keep emailing. Next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
And if
so
one centre can't do something or won't,
Sorry?
if one centre can't do something or won't for whatever reason, having a network, you know, of organisations in Levenshulme where you can get what you need.
Yeah, we went elsewhere, but it's sad because that's at every
Right,
corner
right,
we
well.
need body fit because some women in this area they won't travel more than half a mile anywhere, even less. Yeah, so we need it on each corner. So now the growth of Body Fit Active, we've got 3 trained up coaches at the moment who are, I think we're catering for 500 to 700 women mainly, you know, throughout the business. Yeah, this is where we are. We've got 16 who are going to be trained very soon. We've created 13 paid sessional workers, 7 gone into outside work as well, so 20. And then we've got probably 30 volunteers as well. That's since August 2020. And like we've got 3 directors, but you could say it's a one-man band kind of thing. Okay. And next slide, please. Yeah.
We've got another minute
Creating
or so.
our own economy, yeah, and this is something that's just happened, and you know, whatever we do as an organisation, we involve our women to co-produce. So something that created was I call it creating our own economy. We just take our clothes that we don't wear anymore, have a session, and we sell to each other in an auction. So they'll bid for each other's clothes, so it stays in that. You know, we make money from it. So the first lot was £450. We took a day. These women who've never been out of Longsight or Levenshulme or Cheetah Mill, took them to Bradford for a shopping spree. Yeah, and some of them, they said, we don't even want to do shopping, we just like to be together and go on a day trip. So in a coach, we paid £450 for that. That was the auction 1. Auction 2, we made £200. We took all the ones who were involved in the auction to a spa day, which they'd never been to, and an ice cold shower as well with it. So I think that's it from me, actually.
Oh, well, thank you. But it's great that in a time where it's so hard sometimes to get those, I call them scratchy bits of money, empowering communities to find their own routes through as well. It's really helpful. So awesome, right? We're on a roll. We're on a roll. Nikki, you're up next.
No problem. I know quite a lot of people here and probably sick and telling my journey, but I just wanted to today talk more about the people I work with. And so yeah, so my organisation is called Profit for Purpose. They've been around for a long time, 25 years in this arena, having started working with women's well voluntary service and setting up tea bars and retail outlets. I became obsessed, I would say, with the fact that you could sell cups of coffee, make profit, and then put that profit back into patient care. And that's just a simple thing that got me when I was about 23, 24. And so originally, for those who might recognise me with my previous hat on, my company was called Make It Happen. And then me and my ex-husband went separate ways, and so we named it as Profit for Purpose. So yeah, so what am I involved in? So my big thing is training social entrepreneurs, motivating social entrepreneurs. So through my time, I've met the most incredible people who have an idea but don't know what to do with that idea. And so we deliver quite a lot of professional development programs for social entrepreneurs, and work very much focused on that. We deliver social enterprise development programs now. My sort of world, having sort of started with working with the Department of Health, and basically supporting the introduction of the right to request spin out from the NHS. I went back to university and did a master's in social enterprise management, you can see on there, and then got to work with universities, with Nicola as well. And now I actually work with social science researchers. So within universities, people who do PhD and come up with some great stuff for social change. So I work with them to get it out there into society and help them get it out in an enterprise route. I don't just
Free
work
it up from the barriers and the red tape
Yeah,
of
yeah.
academia, yeah. It's another
Not
world.
just within the universities, I also do this within the NHS and nationally. So I have quite a lot of clients within the NHS that have a programme that they really want to get away from the NHS. I think I spent my whole life trying to get people away from the NHS. Exactly what I used to do when I worked with the Department of Health in spinning out social enterprise. So today I've helped set up 375 CICs now.
And a whole bunch of CIOs.
CIOs now, yeah. We've raised around 1.65 million for our clients. And like I said, I've been here 25 years. And I'm a health social enterprise specialist as well. So I do a lot of work on personal health budgets, social prescribing, work with a lot of GPs. So on that side, that's my health social enterprise has one. And obviously social science research and support, which I was talking about. So and I still work with sort of 3 or 2 days of my time just to work with community groups, the ones that really can't pay for the support. So I do a lot of early stage work still because I still want to do that. So okay, so I wanted to share with you some of the things that why people set up a social venture, and I'm going to come out of legal structures now because that's sort of the constant conversation around, you know, are you a CIC, a CIO, are you a community business? And I tend to fly the flag for profit for purpose companies. Those companies generate profit and then put profit back into the community, and they're not always a CIC. You know, sometimes they're limited and does that. So yeah, I fly the flag for those types of organisations. And what really comes to them in terms of a social entrepreneur, not a social enterprise, but a social entrepreneur that's driven by their passion. And you can see this when people talk about what they do. They're driven by passion. So the drivers that want to make a change to society. It's not necessarily that they want to make money. Okay. But they do have this entrepreneurial mindset. And it's quite funny when you work with social entrepreneurs because they've got business ideas everywhere. Do you know what I mean? And you have to pull those back together. So that there's this total conflict of interest going on in their head of, okay, well, yeah, I want to do business, but at the same time, I want to make a difference. And how do we do that? So it's quite, that's always sort of the first point. They get excited about social change and want to prove what they've done within society. They create social value. They want to build communities. The other thing is they never seem to want to do this alone. They want to bring the community with them. I'm getting paid. I'll put this on here because I can remember when I first worked with the Department of Health, and I can remember doing a talk to voluntary sector, sort of like, you know, big organisations. Then I stood there and told them that social enterprise was a new volunteering, and I might as well just put rottenness marketing going at me. And what I was trying to say is people don't always have the choice that they can volunteer. However, what they can do is run a business and put their profit into it. A lot of the drive people I work with is being able to create their own salary so they can stay and do what they do. You know, they're not talking about creating millions, they're talking about sustainable living. So that's another key that I think a lot of people forget, that they need to generate profit so that they can pay themselves. So yeah, that's sort of the characteristics of the profit purpose organisation that I work with. So what are the new unique challenges? So these are the things that is constant. The first one is, why doesn't everyone understand social enterprise? I know myself for the years and years, and it still happens now, but certainly 20 years ago, when I told people what I did, they just look at me blankly. And then I tell them what it is, and they go, why would people want to either. They just couldn't get the head round that people would want to make profit and reinvest it. And so that makes us feel so alone. A lot of people in this arena, social entrepreneurs, tend to feel alone because it's like, where are those people that are like me? And then where do I find support? Well, where do I find support that understands me, that gets me? Where and how do I start? So, well, where do I start in this world? What do I do? Big one is, why does nobody value what I do? I've had conversations, a lot of conversations that I have with people I work with who they're sort of saying, yeah, but they say, well, can't you just do a real business? And that happens an awful lot. Or, you know, the other half says, do you want to get a real job? You know, that's a common thing. And as I said, yeah, well, it's not real business, is it? These are the issues here that I really wanted to do work with Manchester Social Economy Alliance, because these are the key issues around what we're hoping to solve within the alliance. So what are the opportunities? Do you know, we've got so much opportunities at the moment ahead of us. The big one, because of naturally where I work, is the Public Services Social Value Act. So that's a requirement in public sector commissioning, that they commission an organisation that produces social value and is capable of producing social value. So I'll give you a bit of an angle on this.
I'm just thinking time-wise as well, just because we've got another speaker.
Yeah, I'm going to talk through this bit first and then I'll finish. So there's a lot of private companies out there wanting to work with social enterprises because there's a supply chain. They want to get these contracts. So that's a huge opportunity for us. Buying social, the world's mindset has changed. Ethical consumerism is huge. People want to buy social. Corporate social responsibility, business for good is a huge agenda as well. So companies wanting to do business for good. And impact investing is people investing in social entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, no, really
Yeah, thank you.
helpful food for thought there. And I hope people are finding, you know, it's one of those things, fantastic content and fantastic speakers and fantastic talent in Manchester. And so hopefully recording this and sharing it and just giving ourselves some food for thought for where the network can go, what we know and who's in the network will be really helpful. And not least Sheena, from a big part of underrepresented world really, and when it comes to social economies, you know, credit unions, you know, we just don't link with them, talk to them enough, or think what amazing concepts we could develop together. So really glad you're here, Sheena, and tell us more.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you've got a good 5 or 10 minutes, so don't worry. And then we've got sort of half an hour for our little panel Q&A, so we should be good. And we promise we'll feed people that want to be fed at 12:30. So I'll go and work on that shortly.
You're very hard at to follow for you.
Oh, no, not at all.
I'll do my best. There was actually just one before that, which just got my detail.
Oh, it doesn't. I can sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought I'd start with this. I've just got a couple of photos really, but I think you'll first though. This is me 500 years ago. You can tell it's you though.
Yeah.
What were my parents thinking?
You look really visionary. You can see where we're going to be, like where we are now.
Yeah. I'm very determined. And I think I even remember a little. I mean, I often looked like this probably. It's not fair. It's not fair. Passion is there. Right, and I use that picture because I think going back to where you start from, your roots, all the things that motivate you, the things that happen to you, is really important to keep in touch with that. And that's me, right? And I'm still a bit like that. So it's not fair. It's not right. There's so many things that are just not fair for people. What can we do? We know that we're just one person. We can get stuck in and try to change. We can choose a place. We can try and find people who feel a similar way and get energy from each other, get stuck in and try to change it.
And the more I go on, the more I'm very aware, there's not a lot, we can't change everything. We can try and keep going and just be reminding ourselves of that. So thank you very much for asking me to come today. I realise I've never spoken about this before.
Well,
One of
thank
the
you.
things is I'm always just busy doing stuff. Everybody else feels that. And today I left my team, I got in early to do a bit and come here and I'm going back. Because we're just busy doing it, trying to do that, trying to respond, trying to do it. And it's been quite good. I sat there yesterday thinking, so what is it? What is the point? Where does the motivation come from? How does that work? So I found it quite helpful just trying to think about it. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about, I've got two roles which I'm going to share with you. One is my role at South Manchester Credit Union. I'm the CEO, which is a grand title and we're very small, so it just means that I carry the camera. I'm the CEO. I'm also the chair currently of the Greater Manchester Consortium of Community Credit Unions. And my members in also. Been doing that for 2 years, so I'll talk about those two a little bit. I really love this picture. I've only got something like 3 or 4 slides to share with you. I love this picture. There's so much in it. First of all, the sun's shining, which is great. If this is an ordinary street, this is where we are. We're right next. This is the vape shop here. This is the betting shop here. This is the station. Barbara's across the road.
Which station? Where are you?
Burnage. Barbara across the road is there, like all the time, smile at each other. This is where we are, right? But there's so much in this picture for me. One is it shows you where we physically are. I don't know how much you know about credit unions. I'm not going to say much because I can talk for about 4 hours about credit unions. Just very briefly, we are cooperatives. Local people can band together and save together and then borrow from each other. And that's basically how it works. We started at the back of the church hall where you had to knock on the door and say it's Fred before I let you in. And now here we are. We've got 4,500 people, members from all across South Manchester. Together we've saved £4 million, which is like community wealth building in action. And then when we look at the consortium, together we've got £48 million saved. And that is from people who all live and work across Greater Manchester. It belongs to our communities. So it's up to us to use the resource as well as we can and keep it, because we're cooperative, make sure we're always linked back with what members actually want from us, what they actually need. That's what we're all doing. We don't get out much because we're busy doing it, so we don't get much chance to explain it, but please check us out and have a look, because you can tell, I hope, that we're just excited to be part of it. The other thing I was going to say, just on a personal note with this, is that I actually trained in finance. I'm a finance girl, and I used to work in a very tall office block in London on the 23rd floor, doing a bit of tax. I absolutely love almost every day when I open up and walk in there, it's just like, wow, I am lucky and very much other things to do. Because I love the fact that now I'm on that street and the people that we actually do the work for might walk through the door. I'm sitting with everybody and I have like an extra room. They might walk in and kick off. They might walk in and just be appreciative. But I love that. So I think that's part of wanting to be in social economy, is that you like that. I would rather be making less money, which I am, but have that, because I really value that for me. That motivates me. Right, okay, thank you. So the next bit is the consortium. This is hot news, happened 2 days ago. Fresh the breath, hot off the press. This is an iconic picture. It took 6 years of work to get to this point. So one of the points of making this is slowly, and suddenly. It can feel like it's taking 100 years on your own, quietly, tapping away, feeling lonely. What is it all about? Are we ever going to get there? Who's got their eye on the big dream? And then it comes. And it came for us, the consortium, on Wednesday. And as chair, I won't tell you all of it, but I'm sure you can imagine some of the agony, politics, panicking, ego battling that might go on in holding together a consortium of people. And these are all other people motivated like me with their own credit unions. and I'm chairing them these 2 years. And when I got to that point, it was like a sweet, still spot, to be honest. It's like the world stops for a bit. I hope we all have those moments. And I decided just to have some nice lunch afterwards and not pile in some big load of stuff afterwards, because it's important to notice and celebrate it. I think that makes a difference. The other thing I noticed about that is that I'm the shortest person. Yeah, you walk into rooms where you are who you are. And it's important to go back to your roots. What is important? Why are you here? Why are you doing it? And you just get on and project yourself and do it. Yeah, so that's that one.
And what was this social?
What is it?
Yeah,
Sorry,
so-
it's like more about it.
You'll be following it on Twitter.
I do know, to be fair, I'm very excited.
Yeah, so what is it? It's the Greater Manchester Consortium come together, well, we've been together for a while, but we wanted Andy Burnham to help us get the message out about credit unions, because we're a bit of a best kept secret. And we have a lot of goodwill, and people come saying, come on, where are you? We want us to do more. So we're busy back at the branch doing it, so we need somebody like him to help us raise that profile, which he has been doing. Please have a look on Twitter, Soundbound it's called. That is the title for the consortium, the title of our new loan product, which we brought out in response to cost of living crisis. Loans aren't always the answer, but we do know that in the long term, the impact that credit unions have really, really does make a difference to people. So that's why we want more people to come and engage with us. The latest stats across GM show that 1 in 4 people, 25% of people are coming for information and financial support for the very first time. That's a lot of new people. There's a big divide going on now. Some people are okay, actually, at the moment, financially okay. Some people are really not okay. And it's stretching out, and there's more people falling into that divide. That's why we want this kind of positive message out there. We are here, we can do things, get involved, come alongside. So he's supporting that. There's a challenge that goes with it, which I've put in a hashtag at the end. So please check out, have a look, get involved if you want. Right, so she's got 2 more. This is just very quickly. If I have a long day, I did it yesterday, I sit and have a little look at our Google reviews. You know, I've got more than 600. And this is in people's own words. These are slightly out of date, and they wouldn't be like yesterday, but we regularly get a couple a week. And I love it because it is people actually, so it's not just me yelling on about it. This is people actually saying what it means to them, what difference it makes to them, what they want and appreciate. So for me, that is also part of the motivation. If I flag a bit and lose my energy, then I come back to that. That is the point of it. These are the people I'm listening to. That is really important. That's really rooted in that. Whenever I do a talk, then I always bring that in as well. Okay, so just the last one, I just pulled it together a little bit. Another favourite photo. This is from, you can see all my photos, most of them have got lots of people in them. This is from our grand opening where we expanded our office on Fog Lane. It was a Caribbean takeaway next door. We moved into that. Some people wish that takeaway still there, but anyway. So you can see all the people there who came alongside with us. And that illustrates the point about collaboration, finding people who are energized in a similar way, motivated in a similar way, and working with them together and generating that attractive energy makes a difference. That is part of, it's called social economy for reasons, and it is social. It's all about people. For me, that's really important. It's about collaboration. It's about what can we do together, which we can't do on our own. And that is worth the effort. And it takes effort to keep collaborating. And then I've got keep rediscovering true north. That's the way that I put it. And I'm quite upset that to my team. So lots of things go on. Somebody comes in and you've taken off your eye off the ball for some reason. Get back to it. What is it? What is your true north? Where are you going? What's the point of it? Just keep on working out what the reference points are that help you get back there. Maybe it's some people around you. Maybe it's your roots. Maybe it's serving. Just keep getting back to it. And then, yeah, I just always remind myself about that. Improvisation. I think it's good if you're somebody who likes to improvise. You know, there I am on Fog Lane. People come in and they say, can I speak to someone in head office? I say, yeah, you're here. what do you want? Complaints? yeah, so we have to do it. No one's coming over the hill, but I actually like that. So if you like that, I think that's a good sign. If you like to be able to improvise a bit and be creative, that's good. And I think it's always important to have some fun enjoying it. And that's something challenge to check it out.
Thank you so much.